Good morning. Welcome back to Joe Stun Unboxing. Uh, as I'm sure you know by now, Moses Itauma obliterated Dillian Whyte in one round, just under 2 minutes. A stunning knockout of a guy that we all knew was way past his best, but appeared to have gotten himself in shape to sort of give himself the best possible chance of victory. But, you know, Atalama is a special talent indeed. People will say, well, Whyte was shot, and I expected Atalama to win this early, maybe not that early, but certainly the first 5 rounds, I thought he would get Whyte out of there. But sometimes it's the manner in which you go about your work. And Moses Itauma did fantastically well. You can only beat what's in front of you. Now, the obvious question is, who do we put him in with next? Because, look, I'm high on Itauma. I think he's got tremendous natural ability and tremendous potential. But as things stand, despite this very good win, I mean, at the very least, you would expect a veteran with that much experience, who's faced the people that Whyte has, to sort of manage to fiddle his way through a few rounds. He didn't get out of the first round, as you know. So I still think that Atalama, there are still question marks over him. There is a question mark over his gas tank. How's his stamina? There is a question mark over his chin. There is a question mark over how he will react to being dragged into deep waters and given hell. Can he come through it? Until you do these things, even though you believe you can do them, until you actually do them, you're never 100% sure. Now, of course, Mike Tyson is the one they're comparing to. Tyson has a very different style to Itauma. Apart from anything else, Itauma is a southpaw. But, when he stepped up, he's continued to obliterate good men, decent fighters. But when he was put on the back foot, yeah, he took his beatings like a man against Buster Douglas, later on against Holyfield. But he never, with the possible exception of Razor Ruddock, he never reversed a situation where he was clearly losing, clearly getting beaten up, and fought through it and came through it. Okay, they were competitive fights, relatively competitive against Ruddock. He had to work hard, but he was never under the cosh and then carried on, walked through heat and came back and won, like, say, for example, Evander Holyfield. Holyfield did that. Lennox Lewis did that, most notably against Ray Mercer and, a few others. He came back from defeat and reversed defeats. Tyson never did that. So someone who is that explosive, knocking everyone out early, they have to have tests. They have to turn theory into reality. And the question is, who is going to do that to Atalama? Who's going to take him rounds? Okay. Well, there are a few people that might just do that. And the one that has been mentioned an awful lot is a guy we saw yesterday beating David Adelaide, which is Filip Hrgovic. Is Atalama ready for Filip Hrgovic? Well, it would be a bloody big test. Let's put it that way. It would be an exceptional test because Hrgovic has got a tremendous chin and throws a hell of a lot of punches and has a fantastic gas tank. I don't think that's a foregone conclusion, that fight. I think that there's a chance Hrgovic can beat, a big chance that Hrgovic can survive the early couple of rounds and tame Atalama. Because don't forget, Atalama has 13 wins now. 8 of those are in the first round. And quite frankly, the quality of his opposition, excluding Whyte, who was way past his best, but still a veteran who you would have thought would be able to fiddle his way through some rounds. The quality of Atalama's opposition is very, very poor, very, very low. Dempsey McKean, what would you call him, fringe contender at best. Whyte, grizzled old veteran whose punch resistance is diminished. But all the others are just journeymen. Mike Belogan, again, at best a fringe contender. Of course, Atama's only 20, so I don't really see what the hurry is. So putting him in with Herovic, a decorated amateur who has good professional wins, with a good jaw. He's got a good jaw. He's got a great stamina level, and he hits pretty hard himself, and he throws a shit ton of punches. I would avoid Herovic as Atama's next opponent. What about Joseph Parker? Now, to me, Joseph Parker and Ajit Kabayel both deserve shots at the heavyweight title. But the way things are going, it doesn't look as if Al Sheikh, quite wrongly, he is saying he's not interested in Usyk versus Parker. Well, he can hang his head in shame, because if anyone's earned a shot at the title, it's Joseph Parker. And to be honest, I don't really give a fuck what Turki Al Sheikh wants. Yeah, I don't care that he's got the money, right? It's who wins eliminators, who wins these secondary belts. If these secondary belts are going to have any meaning whatsoever, they have to act as stepping stones to world title shots. And for Al Sheikh to say, not interested, well, I don't give a fuck whether you're interested. Parker earned his shot at the title. So did Ajit Kabayel, by the way. And there's no way on God's green earth that anyone's going to agree to put Kabayel in with Usyk, because I think he's got a better chance of beating Usyk than Parker. I would still make Usyk the favourite, but I think Kabayel's style is better suited to Usyk. But he doesn't carry any sort of economic value whatsoever. Very, very high risk, very, very low reward, which is a tragedy for him. But in the case of Parker, what might well happen is that the WBO title will become vacant, and then Parker will fight someone for the vacant belt. Now, that someone, in my opinion, should be Ajit Kabayel, but don't be surprised if it's Moses Itauma. And can Moses Itauma beat Joseph Parker? In my opinion, without a shadow of a doubt. I'm not saying he would, but he has a much better chance, in my opinion, of beating Parker than he does of Herovic. The reason is that Parker, as worthy as Parker has been in his comeback since being flattened by Joe Joyce, there are occasions when he looks fragile. He looks quite frail. He was on the floor twice against Zhilei Zhang. Zhang is a big hitter, I understand. He was shaken, believe it or not. If you look back at that fight, he was actually shaken just before Martin Bakole got knocked out. He looks vulnerable when hit, unlike Herovic, who takes some enormous punches and shakes, but doesn't. He shakes and rattles, but he don't roll. Parker has he's a high ring IQ. He's got Andy Lee in his corner, who is always going to be a plus for any fighter, because he'll come up with a very good game plan. If he survive, again, as with any other top 10 heavyweight, if he survives the opening rounds against Itauma, he will have a chance of winning, because again, Itauma is untested. We don't know anything about Itauma in later rounds if he's in a competitive fight. But getting through those early rounds, I would say Itauma would be able to probably catch Parker within the first 4 rounds and get rid of him. I could be wrong, though. Maybe I'm underrating Parker a little bit. I've done it in the past. Maybe I'm doing it again. I don't know. Then you've got some other names. I mean, who else can we pick? Well, Michael Hunter's floating around, isn't he? I know there's that dispute he's got with Don King. King wants him to face Kubrat Pulev. So they put a spanner in the works of his fight with Fat Bastard Miller. What about the large infant himself, Jarrell Miller, the drug kingpin, the pharmaceutical enthusiast? What about him for Itauma? Be a test. That would be a test. I mean, he can hang in there for a few rounds. Yeah, He's maybe has a use after all, Miller. Put him in there as a punch bag for Atalama. Wouldn't be a foregone conclusion. He might be able to grind Atalama down. What about possibly a comeback in Daniel Dubois? Now, Dubois don't like it on him. We know that. He doesn't like it up him. But he's a former champion. He's a young man. He's a young fighter. He hits very, very hard. He's got decent stamina. His psyche is fragile. If things don't go his own way, he'll roll over. But a good test. I think that's a good test for Atalama. Bacoli against Atalama. If he can get into half decent shape, maybe Bacoli can take Atalama rounds. Yeah. And again, that would not be a foregone conclusion. But again, I think I'd probably make Atalama a favourite again for an early stoppage. But you know what? If you drag him into those dark, deep waters, you just don't know, do you? How about? I mean, people have talked about. Wardley. I think Atalama beats Wardley. Wardley, of course, will go down swinging because he's a demon, but he's a real fighting man. But nah, I think Atalama gets him. To be honest with you, too much technique, too much skill. Yeah. I mean, there are some others out there as well. You know, and people have mentioned Derek Chisora, Dave Allen. Oh Christ, no. Chisora would go down swinging again, but he'd probably get flattened. Allen, no. He'd get starched, even though he's got a great chin. You need more than the chin against Atalama, I think. What about Justice Hooney? Be a big comeback fight for him, wouldn't it, to face Atalama? But if he won, what do you think? You know, if he won, he'd shoot it back up the ladder, wouldn't he? It's very difficult because I'm trying to think of people that would give him rounds, and some of those names could, in theory, give him rounds. I mean, Lawrence Okoli. Well, only Lawrence Okoli would fight Atalama. He's spoken very highly of him. Jared Anderson? No. But, you know, some of these names could give him rounds. Zhilei Zhang. What about him? No gas tank whatsoever, Zhang. Terrible stamina, but could make it interesting for a few rounds. I don't know. You tell me who you would pick and tell me why you would pick them. And we'll have a think about this. Because to me, I mean, I'm struggling. I'm struggling to think of people who are definitely going to give this guy rounds. And by rounds, I mean 8 rounds, 10 rounds. Dare I even say it, 12 rounds. Frank Sanchez, I think, would give Atalama some rounds. And again, he could beat him. F.A. Jagba is a big, large lump, isn't he? There are names out there, but making the deal, I mean, they're not going to come cheap, are they, to get in the ring with this kid? But we'll see. We will see. Let me know what you think. Give me the reasoning behind your choice. And thanks for watching the video. Please hit the like button and also subscribe to the channel if you're new. Join us. Spread the word about Joe Stunner Boxing. Thanks a lot, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy your Sunday. Bye for now.